Just before we begin, if you're looking for full case study packs, mock exams, even free resources, head over to vivatuition.com. You'll find some of the best price SEMA offers on the market, and we've been getting really great feedback from our students on our materials. In our recent August survey, for example, we received an average satisfaction rating of 4.6 out of 5, compared to an average of 3.1 for other tuition providers. You can also subscribe free for access to a case study mini pack and financial ratios document for the November case. And one last thing, all our packs come with a lifetime pass guarantee as standard, so you can find all the details over on our website.
Okay then, I'm going to start this video series by looking at the company background, mission statement, the design process, and then finish this video up by looking at some of the clients and products for ZedEx office furniture. So, starting with the company background, and we're told that your role is that of a finance manager at ZedEx Office Furniture. And ZedEx Office Furniture is a privately owned furniture design and manufacturing company. We're told that its range of tasks is quite wide. They develop, produce, supply and fit this office furniture, and that they're noted for providing a high quality product, and they target corporate clients. And in the remaining part of this first paragraph, we are told that ZedEx is located in Cordia. It's a fictional country, but based in Northern Europe, and it's a well-developed economy, and it has the Cordia dollar as its currency. Okay then, so unpacking the information in this very first paragraph, the fact that it is a furniture maker based in a Northern European country immediately prompts us to think of the most famous case, which is IKEA. But as we go through this pre-scene, we will see actually that this company is really quite different to IKEA. IKEA is more on the low-cost end of the spectrum. It's looking at the mass market, whereas ZedEx is very focused on a more niche area. They're providing corporate clients, they're their customers, and it's a privately owned firm. It's quite small. It seems to be operational only in the country of Cordia, whereas IKEA is a global company. You're a finance manager. We'll talk about what that role entails at the end of this section. We'll come back to that. This company is privately owned, and that has pros and cons. Some of the pros being that a privately owned institution can take a longer term view, and it has less external pressure from shareholders, less market regulation to comply with. So they are pros. And some of the obvious cons then, the main one being that there are fewer financing options available to a privately owned company, and the reputational benefits that go along with being a publicly listed stock exchange listed company would be missing as well for ZedEx. I do notice that they're doing quite a lot for a small firm. They're developing the furniture at the design stage. They're heavily involved in designing and customizing at that early stage. Then they actually produce the furniture. And then they're actually supplying the furniture and fitting out these corporate offices with furniture as well. So doing quite a lot for a small company. Maybe they want to think about outsourcing a couple of things. Something that immediately jumps to mind at this early stage is the distribution part, maybe the transport. They own their own trucks. So maybe that's something that could be considered a non-core area that they want to look into outsourcing. We will see more as we move through the pre-scene. So high quality office furniture, and they're targeting other companies, corporate clients. And the thing about corporate buyers is that they're more logical buyers, less impulsive than your average consumer, and they also have more buyer power. You have big corporations that will be dealing with a company like ZedEx. They'll be bringing their size to bear on negotiations. They're likely to be trying to drive prices down and use their organizational savvy and size to get a good deal from ZedEx. So keep that in mind. On the other hand, these corporate clients, they tend to be perhaps a little bit less price sensitive. They have maybe a little bit more in the way of a budget. They'll be buying probably in bulk, unlike your average consumer. And that's important, the fact that they're not going to be maybe as price sensitive as the general public, because this marketplace, as we will see shortly, has got a number of elements that indicate it's a perfectly competitive market. And in a perfectly competitive market, there is limited power for companies like ZedEx to charge high prices. They're going to be a price taker as opposed to a price maker. And there are certainly many challenges in being a producer in a perfectly competitive market. So any way you can counteract high sensitivity to prices is going to be good, and corporate clients, as I mentioned, will tend to be a little bit less price sensitive. Okay, located in Cordia, we know very little about Cordia. It's a fictional country, but we do know that it's based in a developed economy in the north of Europe. We're immediately thinking about Scandinavia. And sure, developed economies, all of them in Scandinavia, with probably high buyer power, high incomes, etc. But on the flip side, you're going to have high wage costs and high costs across the board. Another interesting thing is that the Scandinavian countries are noted for being, let's say, very socially just countries. There is a heavy government involvement in the economy, and I wonder, will we see that as we move through this pre-scene? I pose that question. I already know the answer, but you will see when we move through this pre-scene that in fact this is quite a regulated economy, and that there are a number of government bodies setting out regulation, and that actually adds complexity and costs to ZedEx and companies like them manufacturing in a developed economy like this. We know that then the currency is the Cordia dollar, and that is important from the point of view of currency risk. Are they being exposed to risk and movements in exchange rates when they're actually importing wood and other raw materials, if they do so? Moving on to the second paragraph then, this company was founded 34 years ago by Henry Lund in 1983 in the large town of Bartown in the north of Cordia. And he employed just 8 staff to start with, and we're told that he had some very successful years early on, and they moved to a larger premises then with a workforce. It almost doubled to 15, and since then it's grown into a multi-million dollar business. So it is a success story, most definitely. And we're told that the furniture products were desks, chairs, and storage cabinets. And actually that has changed very little. That is the core still of the company's offer. In 1992, then, there was a significant investment in a purpose-built manufacturing plant on a new site close to Bartown, and very important that it gave easy access to major motorways and major rail networks, and that will facilitate the transportation of their products to their corporate clients. So the government has invested in quality roads, quality rail networks, and that is an example of Porter's diamond. And you think about the factor conditions that influence the health of a particular industry in a particular country. Certainly that is a positive. 7.1 million investment in 1992. You think about, this is a purpose-built manufacturing plant. It's probably got lots of custom machinery where there may not be a resale value if the company were to fold or to look to sell on assets that are that they want to get in, new cutting edge assets, well then you think of your E2 studies and asset specificity. Maybe there are vital resources being employed in these factories, but they actually don't have much of a resale value, and they have to be completely written off when they actually replace them. New production machinery then was purchased in 2010, so that's 7 years ago, and that led to a more streamlined and cost-effective production flow, very important, and it actually impacted positively on the environmental impact as well. We will see that this is a company that is fixated on its role as a good corporate citizen. It sees as important its corporate social responsibility. There'll be more about that later on in the pre-scene. The manufacturing plant then is 150,000 square meters, and 150 people are being employed in the plant in total. So just to put those numbers in context, a football pitch, for example, is about 7,500 square meters. So you can think of the size of this manufacturing plant as representing or covering the area of about 20 football pitches, so quite significant. So ZedEx employs over 150 people, so that's good growth from when it opened back in 1983, just 8 people then, 150 people now. But it still classifies the company as being small to medium in size. The UK classification of small and medium-sized enterprises is any firm that has under 250 staff, which is certainly the case here, and any firm that has under 25 million pounds in sales revenue. Actually, that can vary depending on the source, but it's typically between 25 million and 50 million. And we will see when we look at the financial statements later on that this company has got revenues around 90 million dollars. Now, that may be influenced by the exchange rate. Perhaps the K dollar to sterling exchange rate runs, a 10 to 1, in which case that could be like 9 million pounds or something like that. It's very difficult to say. We're not told what the exchange rate is in this pre-scene, so just keep that in mind. But it looks to be a small to medium-sized enterprise. ZedEx is also operating a showroom located on the site of the manufacturing plant close to Bartown. Now, this is interesting because it's the only mention of a showroom belonging to ZedEx in this pre-scene. And if they only have one showroom to show off their furniture, then they're seriously lagging behind their rivals, because later in the pre-scene we'll see that there are certain rivals who have 40 to 50 showrooms throughout Cordia, and if that is comparing to just the one for this company ZedEx, then they're being really beaten there. And it's really important because that's the way that they promote their wares to potential clients. And there's also no mention of any online presence, a website, for example. So already I'm sensing that they might have some problems in the area of marketing and promotion, and that they might want to look at this. No mention of third-party retailers either. It seems from this introductory section that ZedEx is doing everything itself. So it's taking on a lot for a small to medium-sized firm, and that is to be kept in mind too. At this early stage, you can say that also it may be coming up in your pre-scene. I wouldn't be surprised to see it on exam day. Some kind of an investment appraisal. You think of your P2 studies there in consideration of the net present value of certain project investments or certain investments in machinery. The last time they had a big investment was in 2010. That was 7 years ago. Maybe that machinery is out of date and there is a replacement needed. So keep that in mind. And that brings up the issue as well of potential allowances or government grants being made available and limits on funding whether they're going to be soft capital rationing or hard capital rationing limitations on this company if they want to make big investments in a new manufacturing plant or in new machinery. Reflecting on the role then of a finance manager, this is all about monitoring the implementation of strategy. At the operational level, it's about actually looking at the day-to-day execution of strategy. Now you've moved up the food chain, you're going to be observing people execute the strategy on a day-to-day basis, but you will have to monitor how it goes and report back to the top managers in this company. You will also have a mid-term focus as opposed to the short-term day-to-day focus and monthly focus that you had at the operational level. So you're going to be looking at which investments in which products you want to make and the prices being set over the midterm. Risk is also going to be an important consideration for any finance manager, and you're going to also be concerned about the type of financing, and particularly long-term financing, that would be most adequate to take on as you consider investments. There are going to be more advanced financial reporting considerations as well. You know that consolidated reporting is important at this level, so you'll need to brush up on those skills too. And you'll be expected to influence the top management of this company. At the operational level, often your interactions were with peers in the finance department. At the management level, you're going to be interacting with people from other departments. You'll have to be careful about the terms you use. If you're using financial jargon, you want to unpack it for them, explain it to them, and not assume that they know what certain financial terms mean. And you're going to also have to consider the wider environment that your company operates within. Consider as well the stakeholders who are going to be influential. I talked about the government agencies, government regulation. They'll be an important stakeholder in this pre-scene, as well as considering the public at large. They will be impacted by the environmental implications of your production process, for example, and you can think about other players such as financial institutions that might be lending your company money, etc. The next slide then presents us with the mission statement for ZedEx. And the mission statement, as you might recall, focuses on the organization's basic function in society. And the basic function that they've laid out here is a commitment to giving the best in office furniture design and excellence in customer service. Now, so this is the first mention of their dedication to their customers and their fixation on offering service. This is important because brand differentiation through the product alone is going to be difficult in this kind of an industry. I mean, a chair is a chair and a table is a table. They're not going to carry a big logo on the side telling you which company has been making it. So what's going to be really important is the customer service here. It's a differentiator. So this is interesting. And the mission is focused on developing core competencies for the firm in order to meet its core business principles. And we think about the core competencies at this stage as perhaps being high quality manufacturing with few flaws, so they want to avoid costs of poor quality, and customization to client needs, fast production as well at an acceptable cost. They're things that will come up throughout this pre-scene. So the business principles that are listed here involve the provision of quality furniture through the use of highly skilled employees and investment in state-of-the-art manufacturing processes. They want to exceed customers' expectations through continuous improvement and interaction with the customer. They're going to support their employees through a focus on education and learning, and they're going to focus on improving their processes through best business practices. And finally then, ethical considerations here. They want to maintain the highest standards of integrity in their interactions with all of their stakeholders. So very interesting. It seems to me they have high aims, and certainly we have to think that this company is operating on the high end of things. They want a high quality product. As well as that, they want great service for their customers. They want to customize, and all of that's going to be supported by big investment in skilled employees and in their continuous learning, and the employment as well of very modern manufacturing processes. We talked about investing in those manufacturing processes already. And we have to think that this is a company with high cost built in, and they're going to have to counter that high cost with high prices if they want to make profits. So, some early considerations as well would concern total quality management. That was an element of your P2 studies. Quality with total quality management is dependent upon empowered employees, multi-skilled workers who are able to take responsibility for their own actions. And in that kind of a setup, employees are going to be a key asset. You're going to want to have a low turnover rate. You're going to want to keep your employees happy, and all of that costs money too. Integrity is mentioned at this early stage, so that means that you want your interactions with your partners to be straightforward, to be honest. You want to trust each other. Think about the SEMA Code of Ethics there. Anytime you're presented with an ethical challenge, it's good to bring up the SEMA Code of Ethics. Examiners like to see that. No vision at this early stage. Usually that would accompany the mission statement. The idea with a vision is you lay out what the firm could be in the future. It's aspirational in its nature. And this might signal that this is a company that's very fixated on the now. Okay, on executing, on getting an excellent product, nothing wrong with that. But I wonder if they're not keeping enough of an eye on future developments and looking to aspire to be something bigger and better than what they are. Remember that this company is still offering pretty much the same products as they did 34 years ago, and they've grown, certainly not exceptionally so. We'll see that this industry, in fact, is characterized by lots and lots of small firms. As I said, I alluded to already, this is a perfectly competitive marketplace. The company is very fixated then on the current market and current products. If you think about Ansoff's matrix, that means it's fixated on market development. Next, we have the design process, and we are told that there are a number of experts employed at this stage. Of course, we've talked about the cost implications of having highly skilled employees, and right away we see it at the first step in the process for this firm. Experts employed here, they're using two-dimensional office spatial planning services alongside 3D computer-generated visualization software to customize for their corporate clients and lay out what they're going to deliver. This 3D visualization method is actually quite a well-established practice at this stage in the office furniture design industry. So that means it's not going to be really a differentiator of any type. Rather, it's just expected that these companies would pay for these software services and use them. So what this software does is it provides a layout for an office space, and then the client, in conjunction with the project manager, can optimize the layout according to the needs of the client. So already we're seeing this is a customized service, and this is going to be high-end and likely high cost as well. So the designers are using this software to help the clients out, and there is a wide range of office furniture being provided by the company in the product catalogue. So no mention of a website of any type yet, or indeed throughout this pre-scene. We're talking about a product catalogue. Maybe they could use a website rather than printing off all of these catalogues. Each client specification is analysed by the designers to achieve the optimum layout and conformity to meet the client's needs, and also to meet Cordia's health and safety laws and guidelines. Okay, first mention of government involvement in the marketplace. Health and safety laws, we don't know how stringent they are, but there are many mentions of such laws and regulations in this pre-scene. It leads me to believe that really the government is quite involved in the marketplace in this country. Not just for ZedEx, but for other private firms as well, it's going to have an impact. And you think about your E2 studies, your PEST tool, which focuses on political factors, economic factors, societal factors, and also technological factors. And here certainly we have a consideration of political factors. And Mendelow's matrix also is a useful tool to consider this element. And we have government bodies and regulators being very present, and certainly I would think that they're high-powered, maybe not so high on interest, as long as companies are obeying regulations. So it's all about keeping these government bodies satisfied by adhering to health and safety laws, etc. There's tight control then on the turnaround from the order from the client to the actual installation of the furniture in their offices. So that's a primary objective, as well as having high quality, and they do that by having constant checks at every stage of the production process. These checks are taking place, and they want to minimize lead time, so they want these orders to be processed very quickly and installed in the offices so they can get revenues in the door, and they will be exceeding the client's expectations in terms of the delivery times. So they want the high quality, but they want it to be done quickly, and they want it to be done without errors. You start to think, well, maybe something has to give. That's a lot to ask for. And if they want to pull that off, they're going to have to really have a tight process, a tight manufacturing process, and they're going to have to invest in their people and their processes and their machinery. So certainly all of the indications at this early stage are this is going to be a high cost operation. Total quality management, which I mentioned before, that's all about getting it right first time. And if you can do that, you eliminate the errors occurring at a later stage. You think about the cost of quality, the cost of appraisal, and that is what's happening with their stringent quality checks. They have these checks at each stage of the process, and they're trying to avoid errors down the line, the type of errors that could be costly, external costs, external errors being noticed by the client that would be no good for the reputation of the company. You also think about P2 theory of constraints, identifying and removing bottlenecks. If the company is fixated on that, they can have a quicker manufacturing process and get those lead times down, which they are emphasizing the importance of at this stage. We'll round out this particular video by looking at the clients and the products offered by ZedEx. So the clients we know are corporate clients, and to deal with these corporate clients, ZedEx is employing a project manager. There's going to be lots of mention of the project manager throughout the pre-scene. This dedicated project manager sits within the design team, and he is the one interacting with the client throughout the design phase and ensuring that the design meets the product specifications set out by the client. This particular person is going to have a good mix of skills, a good mix of technical and communication skills in particular, as well as having personal skills to boot. So quite a rounded individual, you would say, is going to be a key player here. And the project manager is going to be liaising with many departments in ZedEx, manufacturing, logistics managers, as well as the design team. And we think also of your P2 studies, costs in the modern manufacturing environment. The greater the variety, the greater the costs. And because this company is a company that has customization at the core of what it does, that's going to mean a greater variety. They're not just churning out standard items, they're going to have items that are customized and tailored to client needs, and that's going to add cost to their production process. And we're told that over the last 30 years, ZedEx has designed, manufactured and installed their office furniture for a range of clients, multinational banks, government departments, large retail headquarters, universities, etc. A wide range of customers then, and all of these customers seem to be quite large, quite powerful. You think of Porter's Five Forces, they're going to be much bigger than ZedEx. They're going to bring that size and financial power to bear on any negotiations, most likely, so that they have a good degree of buyer power. Then we're presented with the product portfolio for the company. It's largely the same as what they were offering 34 years ago. It hasn't varied that much. What's interesting in this section is the reference to the wide range, the wide selection of items they have here. So with a wide variety of offerings, of product offerings, and especially when they're being customized to each different customer, you're talking about variety. And with variety comes many production setups, and with many production setups, you think about activity-based costing, you have your cost drivers and added costs coming there. So that's what I'd like to point out in this section. With the desking systems, they're manufacturing a wide selection of desking systems, including height adjustable benches and desks designed for individuals, group working, and call center style desking arrangements. With the seating, again, they have a wide range of chair designs, tables. Again, this word or term I would like to highlight, wide range of designs there too. The storage units, that's become quite a big area when we see the breakdown of the revenues per product offering. We will see in the budget section that storage units are quite an important element of their total revenues. Under-desk storage, lockers, etc. And then more recent offerings come in the form of huddle pods or booths and screens. And both of these offer enhanced privacy in open office spaces, which seem to be the norm nowadays. So this offers a way to give people some privacy if they so wish. So that wraps up this first video.